Okay, everybody, welcome to Haddee Zoom session. And today we're delighted to invite three experienced counselors and one of the parents' representatives. So we're going to discuss the topic of how counselors and the parents can collaborate together to help our students. So our agenda will be, we'll have our counselor and the parent have a brief introduction about themselves. Then I will introduce a little bit about Haddee. My name is Dan Dan, by the way, Han Dan Dan or Dan Dan Pan, founder of Haddee. And I will share a little bit of resources after the brief introduction. Then we'll start Q&A with the counselors and the parent. Our parent representative, Mr. Gao, present a short presentation and we'll share that as well. So we'll start here. Welcome and thank you, everybody. So we'll start with Ms. Marino. Go ahead, Ms. Marino.
Hi, my name is Gigi Marino, and Dan Dan has listed me as an editor at MIT's magazine. I just want to clarify that I was an interim editor, a position that I loved dearly, and I've written for MIT's magazine. I've spent 25 years in higher education as a writing professor, a communications director, magazine editor, and photography director. I work primarily now as a college admission counselor for Haddee Education, and it is a position that I love, and I feel that everything I've done in my life has led up to this.
Thank you, Ms. Marino. As I told you, I also met another student of yours today, so thank you. And next, Mr. Clinton.
Hi, my name is Phil Clinton, and I'm originally from the Boston area. Graduated from Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, and then went on to Oberlin College and later to Duke University for my master's degree. I may be the one with the most experience here. I'm not sure. I've been in college counseling for over 35 years, and in those years, I've served kids from all around the world. In 1989, I began my international career, and I've spent virtually every year since that outside of the United States as headmaster, principal, and college counselor at various American international schools around the world. Since 2012, I've been working primarily with Chinese students based in Shanghai and in the United States, back and forth over the past 13 years. And I'm delighted to be working with Haddee as one of their college counselors now. They've got some tremendous students, and it's a delight to be a part of the work of the group. I also one of the things I like to say, I'm one of the founding members of the International ACAC, the Association of College Admissions Counselors, and I'm the past president of that organization, which is one of the largest organizations for college admissions counselors, both admissions officers and college counselors like us. So thank you for letting me be with you today, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Clinton. We'll never forget your name, okay?
No, right, exactly. And it's Phil, not Bill. Okay, good.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so Mr. Gardezi.
Yes, hi everyone. John Gardezi here. I am currently based in the Long Beach area. I'm originally from Southern California. As Dan Dan mentioned, I was at one point a Harvard undergraduate. I have now graduated, graduated a few years ago. I used to interview for the Harvard College Office of Admissions, and I've done admissions counseling for over 10 years. I worked with a lot of students in California and around the world, as well as from China and different parts of Asia, looking to gain admission to top universities. I've also got a background in test prep. I got a perfect score on my SATs, and I've taught the test for over 20 years. So if you've got any questions about admissions, test prep, fun fact, I also am a surfer. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. Glad to be here.
Good.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Gardezi. And then Mr. Gao and our Haddee dad, our Haddee parent. Mr. Gao?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Jeju Gao. I'm in San Diego. I'm a dad for a freshman. My daughter's name is Ruby Gao. She is a freshman at the University of Michigan, studying at the Rose School of Business. she is doing great, and I'm very proud. I have to say some words. When I was first invited to speak for the evening events, honestly, I had a lot of hesitation. First of all, there are many students out there more impressive than my daughter Ruby. And let's be real. None of us knows exactly how this will turn out in the future. There are so many unknowns. At another side, I'm not an education expert or a college counselor. I don't have any formal training or a big serial or to share. I'm just a parent who went through the Gen Ys and is still figuring it out. So I wasn't sure I had anything valuable to say. However, because Haddee, the counselor at Dada really helped Ruby college application so much along the way, I felt like I couldn't say no. They asked me to be part of this event. So here I'm just share what I can from a parent's perspective. Just that, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gao. And Ms. Gao also kindly did some presentation prepared, and he will share the slide. So here we go. I'm just gonna be some parents are new or students are new to our company. So I'm gonna share a little bit. Our company is registered in San Diego. I used to live in San Diego for 27 years. Prior founding Haddee, I was leading a lot of projects at a high-tech company called Qualcomm, okay? And then I also have other startup companies experience. And this is my third startup, okay? And this is Haddee Education, you can see that. But right now I actually live in UC Berkeley. Both my kids got into Berkeley. And so I'm a local resident. And here's a lot of reviews, very organic. Thank you, parents, counselors, students for supporting Haddee, okay? And then we have a few websites. This is the original one that most students see. We have a lot of courses. And then we have college support and listed how we can help you. If you guys can open this up, we can take a look at accepted list for all of our counselors, 2025, and it's not all in yet, okay? 2023, 2024, so you can go see it. And so one thing I wanna emphasize, our counselors supports all students' interest, ranging from STEM to humanities, to sports recruiting, to arts. So there's no people gonna ask, oh, which counselor is good at STEM? Our counselors supporting all interest because they've been doing this for many years, especially counselor coming from private school or public school sectors that you can choose your students. The students have a variety of interests. So this I want to emphasize, okay? And then if students are interested in SAT, ACT, group classes, we have tons of them. But we are also launching, interesting projects. Like this is not official yet, so you guys can take a look at it. We have an AI platform, and then can show you a little bit of the kind of just, we're testing it, so it's not 100% ready, but you can see that you go in, you can chat with founder. I don't really want you to chat with me, but I do a lot of writing, and we work with a lot of counselors, and we put information in the back end. So if you type some questions, there will be, it's a very reasonable answer, okay? Sometimes it's AI's delusional. It's not replacing our counselors' work, never will replace for many, many years because your student is very special. But it gives you a generic framework. So this is where you can see, hey, who is gonna tutor? We're gonna tutoring. This is generic questions. There are a lot of them, you can save it. This community support, because I lead over 2,000 of Mandarin speaking parents, Berkeley parents. So this is really supporting for Cal parents. And we also have our unique research program. Summer program, we have a list of over 3,000 programs, but we're testing it. Sometimes the link doesn't work very well, and also test prep. So this is the site will be launched very soon. All of the registered parents will receive the invitation. And so I just want to give you a very quick review of this. And the last thing is I want to show you is Haddee, not only for academic support, but we also really emphasize on skills. And we work with our enrolled students. We work with you by providing internship. So I'm not going to go through the details. Okay, so this is a little bit about Haddee. I'm going to stop here. And then I'm going to start questions for our counselor. Those are not easy questions, okay? Number one, for 3 counselors, okay? What is the ultimate goal of college counseling? How do you help your students? Ms. Marino.
So my ultimate goal is to help the students discover their passion. And I was very happy to see that Mr. Gao had used the word passion in his presentation, because it's really important that students find a subject area that is fulfilling to them, not just something that is going to give them a job when they graduate. And today's students are going to have at least a dozen different jobs in their lifetime. So what I help them do is to identify the things that fulfill them intellectually, psychologically, spiritually, personally, and then to craft a path for them around that. And then the ultimate goal is to find a university that is going to suit them the best and help them further that lifelong passion that they have now. And so we help them build a strong foundation. I don't focus so much on majors as I do with some really strong areas like communication. Data science is becoming increasingly important in this world. Mathematical skills, critical thinking skills, and reading is very important for me with the work that I do with my students. I create personalized reading lists for all of my students, and it helps them to think critically, helps them with the language portion of the SAT or the ACT. And really, I want my students to be happy people in their lives and in their careers. So that, for me, is the ultimate goal, to help them build that foundation and find the best fit for college and university.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Marino. Passion and skills. Thank you, Ms. Marino. And Mr. Clinton?
I would definitely echo everything that Ms. Marino said, especially about the best fit. But one of the challenges I think we face with young people at this juncture in their life is many of them, not all, but many of them have not spent much time in introspection. They haven't looked inside themselves. I mean, we talk about finding their passion, but find themselves. And I've been noticing over the past few years, especially coming out of the COVID era, that there's a lot of anxiety, uh, a lot of dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease in the adolescents that I've been working with around the world, not just in America, not just in China. It's ubiquitous. And so one of my goals is to help students look inside and come to terms with who they are. And sometimes they'll say, well, I don't have much of a story. Oh my goodness. You know, the story is inside you. Let's pull that out. Let's look inside and bring it out. And I think therein lies the passion. There we'll find the passion. But often many kids don't want to go through that kind of introspection and that tough work of looking inside and dealing with what I am and where I'm going and how I'm going to get there.
Wow.
So that's one of my things. All right.
Yeah, this is great. I sometimes say, helping students soul searching. Thank you, Mr. Clinton. You nailed it. Thank you. Mr. Gardezi.
Yeah, so this is a terrific question, and I would echo what the previous speakers have mentioned. One more thing that I'd like to add, and I'll give an anecdote to give my answer. I was recently at a PTSA meeting somewhere in Southern California at a very competitive high school with a competitor who was talking about giving a presentation to parents like this, talking about confidence. And I did some introspection around this topic, and I think in addition to finding direction and purpose, I like to focus on instilling a sense of resilience and resourcefulness in my
Here,
students.
here. Yeah.
And so I think what the challenge we have is we have a very competitive landscape in college admissions. And a lot of times students can feel a sense of, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough, or
Right.
gosh, I don't know if calculus will ever be for me. And perhaps the student in the long run has the goal of, I don't know, going to medical school, becoming an engineer, going into computer science, even other areas of science or business do require you at some point to take calculus. And I think one of the things I try to teach my students is, okay, you may have a challenging teacher, you may have a challenging class, but are there ways to work around impediments or obstacles you face? And are there alternatives that we can think about? And so, a lot of that does require some creativity. And one of the things that I like working with, the population of students we have here, Haddee they go to, some pretty competitive public schools in California or private schools in different geographies. Your resourcefulness and resilience will carry you far in life. I really do see that as two things that I like to instill in my students.
Mhm, mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gadezia. So I'm going to ask counselors one more question, then Mr. Gao will present, okay? The second
Sure.
question is, the topic is counselor and parents. So I always, every time I talk to parents, I talk to them a lot, okay? I always say it takes a village to raise a kid. It is really takes a village to raise a kid, okay? So among the counselors and the parents, what do you believe it is the most effective way or effective collaboration among parents and the counselors and the student, to help our students? So, Ms. Marino.
That's a great question because the parents are very involved, as they should be, and we want them to be involved. But when I'm working with the student, I make sure that both the parents and the student know that the student is my main client. It is not the parents. And so the collaboration really is between me and the student, and then me and the parents, and the student and me and the parents. So, it's a bit of a tripod there, right? So there are three different levels of that. But for me, the most important relationship is with me and the student. And we want the parents to support the students, but at the same time, we don't want them to be helicopter parents and to be hovering so close to the students that the blades of the helicopter create a lot of chaos and really get in the way. So that balance is important to maintain. I've had a full gamut of relationships with students. I've had a parent who basically said, my kid doesn't know what he wants to do and he hasn't done the right thing. And here we are, he's a senior, please help me. And that student was very disconnected from the parent. And so in my working with the student, I actually felt a need to give that student a lot of love and reassurance about the process, since the parents were so divorced from the process. And then I've had other situations where the parents were so overly involved that the student doesn't get a word in edgewise. So those are the two extremes. We want to find a happy medium. We keep the parents informed. All of us counselors write notes afterwards so that the parent can see them. But for me, it's important that the student's privacy is respected and that they understand that when they're working with me, that this is a safe space and that they can say things to me that they may not necessarily say to other people. But, echoing what Mr. Clinton said about helping the student to build some more of those soft skills in terms of becoming resourceful and independent. For me, that independence is a very important quality that we need to nurture.
Wow, very good. Independence and initiatives. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Marino. And Mr. Clinton?
Well, Ms. Marino, Gigi, you said it, but I mean, as you're speaking, yeah, a recent conversation with a family comes to mind, which I can't share, but the whose life is it anyway is what came to mind during that conversation with the family. It was one of those helicopter type situations, and I couldn't say it quite as bluntly as that, but I'll say it here. You know, there's a time when the counselor might want to say that, and parents might want to take a step back and think, is this one of those times when the counselor's thinking, whose life is it anyway? You know, the students usually come to this, especially by the time they're in 11th or 12th grade. I mean, they're getting ready to, they're going to be out there. And the helicopter parent has to sort of understand that once they're off to college, you can call and you can WeChat and you can do all you want and text and everything, but they're going to be making decisions on their own. And I had a rude awakening with my own son. We went off to college and took him the first day at first, and I don't know. I made the stupid thing. I said something to one of the people like, "So when his grades come out, will they be sent to me?" And they looked at me and said, "Are you kidding? No, those aren't yours." And I wanted to scream, "Wait a minute, who's paying this anyway?" But I never got to see my kids unless he gave me permission. That was a rude awakening. It's like I don't have control anymore, and I think that earlier parents come to understand that and come to work on that, you know, idea and understanding, the better off everyone's going to be. And again, yes, of course, we keep in touch with parents. Parents are integral. They're very important. They're very important, but it's their life, folks. And this is a really critical time for a lot of people who's parenting the first child. This is a really tough thing to kind of handle. And it is the first time you have to sort of let go. And it's a tough, as a parent, I can tell you that's not easy to do, but I come to it sympathetically as a parent, and I would always treat my parents with that same kind of sympathy and empathy that, you know, I know what you're going through, but whose life is it anyway?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Clinton. So here I want to clarify the word of a helicopter parents. It's
Yeah,
not
please, go
a
ahead.
word. Yeah, it's American
bad.
slang. It's American slang. My brother-in-law works at San Diego State University, SDSU. It's quite competitive now for computer science majors there, okay? And then we have a really good friend works also in SDSU because I'm from San Diego, okay? And it regardless of ethnicity. So, you know, I know we are supporting a lot of Asian Americans because I speak Mandarin and I have a lot of followers on the WeChat. So it's a little bit easier. And but please don't think we're talking about helicopter parents with respect to race. Not at all.
No.
SDSU has tons of variety of the Latinos, Asians, Caucasians, Jewishes, okay? And then my brother-in-law and our best friend always use that word called helicopter parent, okay? It's because they're in college and they receive calls from parents asking about grades and this and that. Okay, they are in college. We're not talking about high school parents. Okay, so this is a clarification. Okay, and Mr. Gardezia, please.
Yeah, so this is really wonderful, and there's a lot of, background context to this idea of a helicopter parent. If we could think of maybe a perfect world, and I want to give an example. Recently, a couple years ago, I had a student, Chinese American boy, got into MIT, Stanford, and Harvard. And so one of the prompts at the time was describe the world you come from and how it relates to your dreams and aspirations. And there's a lot of power in metaphors in the college admissions process. So he came up with the idea of using Shark Tank as a metaphor. So growing up, his parents were the participants and he was the shark. They would come and pitch ideas to him. What do you like? What do you not like? And the point of that was for him to have a sense of feeling empowered. Now, when high school came around, the roles were reversed. He was in the position where he had to pitch ideas to them because of limitations on resources, time, money, the basic, things of life. So what I find power in that metaphor is that when you have a student and you empower your students to go out there and advocate for themselves, that is going to be far more beneficial in the long run than whether they do one camp versus another, or whether
Hear,
you
hear.
spend X dollars on a certain research program or an internship. And you know, for those of us who've been around the Ivy League institutions, we can always find resources and opportunities for students at the best law firm in the world or research with a certain professor. But I think that metaphor has always stuck with me. So if you do feel you're a helicopter parent or not, think about how you're going to help your student be a participant in this great game of life.
Here. Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good, very good. Okay, very good. So now we said a lot from the counseling point of view. And by the way, I just want to let you guys, counseling is a very ancient profession. It started in a tribe. So people get together, help each other, counseling. And the college counseling, association started, close to about 100 years ago. Every single high school, private or public, every single college have counselors. Okay, so it's a profession, and it's very well regarded, and it's rewarding if counselors love working with students. Okay, so now I'm going to give the microphone to Mr. Gao. Mr. Gao, and here you go. You can present and to share your story as a dad. And I invited a dad because a lot of moms are involved in education. So I want to just have a little bit of change. Okay, Mr. Gao, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Can-
the floor
can
is
you see my
yours.
screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, first of all, well, thank you, Haddee, invited me to as a speaker here. Actually, as a dad, I believe it's a little bit weird to step too much about the kids' college application at study. However, I think it's very important. If here somebody are in China mainland, I believe over there because the fathers business are always busy. They are always busy in work. So I believe such as a lot of my classmates, they don't have enough time to accompany their kids. So, but I try to say that is very important for kids' education. If my wife thought that is stepping the education of our kids can be built a very, very wide and further career for the kid. So yeah, so I agree. So we need time to testify if it's right, it's true or not, of course. Here just I'm briefly went through what my daughter what's my daughter profile. She was a CCA student. CCA is a very competitive high school in South California. She was a DECA president and a team player of volleyball varsity team. And she was a member of ASB and she was a student store manager. During her high school, he got some awards such as the Rising Star Award and the Senior Award. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I think
Okay.
yeah, no worries. Yeah.
So during the celebration of Rising Star Award, the principal said she was self-motivated students who quietly lifts others while working hard. And her data instructor teacher said he could not foresee any data presidents in the near future would be as good as Ruby. So that's the basic profile for my daughter. So this is the celebration for Rising Star. The man is her principal, and the woman, the lady is her counselor in CCA, not in Haddee. Haddee is another teacher. counselor. So I highlight the keywords here, so such as the registrar's criteria is creative and confidence and accepting. So the left side is the speech contents of the principle. So I just put it here to, because these words can show something to other parents and audience. So the one of her important thing is the data club. She was the club president and lead the team compete in different levels, such as one district in South California at state awards. And they have 7 team members stepped in international finalists. Ruby herself got 20 the global 20 top 20 and top 10 for 2 different events. So I have to mention that this is the first time for their high school had students go with such fun. So because as the counselor mentioned about a moment ago, so she has passions to build such as data and business. So I also talk about emphasize passion is very key for the children's career, not only for college application. So because they have interested in this topic, so you know, CCA is a very busy school. So even after they have very heavy homework, so they had to take meetings after at midnight after they submitted their homeworks. So because they have passion for that, so they didn't feel it's kind of heavy burden, and they feel tired and boring for what they did. So before graduated, Ruby was also get award for senior awards. So she was the first person to step in on the stage. So this is what happened at that evening. Yeah. So she continues shining in the college. Just in last week, she got an award in the college. So it happened on last Saturday. Got some academia prize. This is the first good news from her college. And just yesterday, we got this good news. So I'm so feel so proud of her, and all the good news let me feel very comfortable, and I know she is still working very well and work hard over there. So this is a competition for case a case study or something. I don't know so much about the details. So during the high school study, as a dad, I got something very important. The first thing is to follow their passion. So in the future major selection, I believe they should select what they are really interested, not just somebody always. There are a lot of students concentrated on computer science, just for example. However, I believe not all of them are very interested in computer science. The reason just this thought computer science can easy can find job easier and can make more money. But since it's changing, I don't want to go much detail about that. And lesson two, Ruby was very active in her high school. So he attended a lot of activities and a lot of events, helped a lot of events. So she was recognized by her counselor and a lot of other teachers. So this made she made her learned a lot of not only skills and learned a lot social with other schools and with the teachers and counselors in the school, and also and another benefit, she could get very strong recommendation letters from their teachers. So here I want to see all these peers have values, such as Ruby took a lot of lessons outside, such as watercolor painting, modeling, table tennis, and what's that? And guzheng, music instrument. So, however, when she was busy in college application, she stopped everything over there. So even now, she hasn't picked up, hasn't picked up them, any of them. But I believe all these kind of activities and skills can not waste money and time. I believe all of these kind of activities helped her to be a real person as now. And parents' support also has an impact. So, for example, when I actually, youth always have a lot of youth had a problem with the relationship with their parents. Just sometimes. I also had this kind of experience, but fortunately it's very short. So, which made me think if Ruby really seeks me a good dad. However, during she the Rising Star celebration, but in her talk, she thanked me genially, so which made me feel I have everything I did is worth. I had owe the whole world. So during the college application, I think this should be a teamwork, a system. The students should be the lead to drive the process, and parents is a support. So what I did, actually, frankly speaking, I didn't know too much about college students, about college applications. So what I did, just accompany and provide encouragement and pray for my daughter. And what I said, she involved a lot of events in school. And after school, because I had very little knowledge about the college application, and just Ruby selected her counselor in Haddee. So I believe she can. I just got feedback from Ruby often. What her feedback made me trust the counselor very much. So frankly speaking, I didn't touch much details about the college application. So most rely on the counselor in Haddee and work together with Ruby. They both worked the things out. That's just what I
Thank
just
you.
currently talk today. It's not systematically, but I'm not a professional counselor or educator. So yeah, that's that.
Thank you, Mr. Gao. Thank you for your comprehensive presentation. And love the last slide. Is student-led. Has to be student-led because students is going to college. Parents support. All of our parents, doesn't matter. I'm a parachuting or not a parachuting. We are all parents. We love our kids and we want them to succeed and we support them. Okay, I support my kids as well. We all, right? And then of course, student will talk to the counselor our process, and student will make the decision. Student must feel confident and comfortable with our counselor before they're enrolled. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gao. So we have a few more minutes. I'm gonna continue asking questions to our counselor and about collaboration. So here we're gonna go is sometimes a counselor's advice to the students differs significantly from the parents' advice. And how do you resolve that? For example, what majors, what colleges, and so Ms. Marino.
That sometimes does become problematic, and I loved Mr. Gao's presentation, so I tried to give you a little thumbs up. I don't know if it worked or not, but
Thank you.
I really love the way that you broke it down. That's a collaboration that is student-led. It also involves the parents. It also involves the school, which is important because they provide transcripts. The student has to get letters of recommendation, etc. So that's an important collaboration. But trusting the counselor, I want to underscore that. You have made the decision to go ahead and contract with someone. And the reason that you did that is because you initially had confidence in their experience and their wisdom. So I'm hearing from the counselors who are here, we've got a lot of experience in higher education. We understand the landscape. We're constantly reading. We're reading the Chronicle of Higher Education. We're reading in highereducation.com. And so we understand the way that things work. One of the is both a positive and a negative with the way that the parents collaborate or communicate with one another, so they know an awful lot about what's going on. But I oftentimes have students coming to me with information that's wrong because they're getting it from secondhand party, third-hand party. By the time they get it, that information is somewhat distorted. So I just have to be really clear with the parents and say, you hired me for my expertise. I have been working in the higher education environment for 30 plus years and in different capacities, have worked for numerous universities writing for their alumni magazines, and really having that conflict, it creates stress and anxiety for the student because they feel that they have to pay attention and give loyalty to their parents, and yet at the same time their instincts might be saying, yeah, but it's not necessarily what I believe, but they don't have the gumption to stand up and say to disagree with their parents. And and you know, we don't want to get in the middle of a relationship problem between the parents and the child. Yet at the same time, I make it clear when I start working with my students that they have to trust me and they have to trust my instincts. And I know that you have another question about essays, so I won't talk about essays right now, but those also become very problematic because writing is infinitely perfectible. And when you get too many students, too many people involved with the writing process, you can take a wonderful, beautiful essay and just turn it into gunk. And I have seen this happen more than once. But I just have to be really firm with people and say, you hired me for a reason.
On the other hand, Gigi, I mean, I agree, totally agree. And I love the gunk. I've seen some of that too. But on the other hand, we're at the end of the day, people have to make their own decisions.
Right.
And I have sometimes said to people, you know what? Fine. I am who I am and you know whatever. But it's not again, whose life is it? It's not my life. And
Right.
I have to always be careful that I don't try to run their lives. And people sometimes make bad decisions. And that's the way it is. And I give my best advice. And one other thing you say, be careful, parents, all of you who are parents out there listening. If I hear it this once, I've heard it 1,000. They say, or I've heard, and I always want to know who are they and where have you heard it from? Because the misinformation and the strange stuff, there is a huge rumor mill, and it's by the time it comes to me, like I heard that, oy vey. So be careful of where you get your information. And Gigi, you're right. We're the ones who come with the credentials that say, listen, we're doing our job. Now, I don't know what they said, but I know what we're coming from. But at the end of the day, it is your life. You will make your decisions. I've given you my best counsel. And yeah, it's not easy when you get into that situation, but yeah, it is their life.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to echo a lot of the sentiments. I think that, the experience that I'm hearing from the other panelists is really spot on. A couple things, if you're a parent and you think that you're going to have some conflict with your student, one thing to consider is what type of counselor do you want to have in the trenches with you? Because
Yes.
I've experienced this, I'm sure every counselor's seen this, where there is, disagreement. And I take the perspective that a good counselor doesn't take the disagreements personally. I know some counselors do, and it's just a waste of everyone's time. The important thing that I think for a good relationship is whether or not the parent is right, the student is right, the counselor is right, what keeps the bus moving forward? Because when the bus is moving forward, everything falls into line and the
Right.
applications are sent out and the hurt feelings tend to be minimized, etc. So that's something to consider. And inevitably disagreements will happen. And I've worked with a wide range of parents and students. So a really good counselor also has thick skin and won't take things personally. That's when you've hired a gem. The second thing is that's when you know you've got the right person, okay? The second thing is with the essays. Now, this is very, very sensitive. Sometimes I have seen where parents and students will go so I've worked with students from mainland China, which is very different from here in the US. And one of the things I've noticed is that there are a lot of scammers out there. There are a lot of people who try to trick you. And so what does a student do? I see it all the time. They go to three other people and they say they know somebody who's getting a PhD in English at whatever university. This essay is garbage. Who are you? You don't know how to write, blah, 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 blah. And then, so what I do, and this is something I think a good counselor or editor, please pay attention when you're hiring your counselor or editor. They don't get defensive. They coach you. They say, okay, you're going to go out there and talk to 10 other people. Now, here's what you should do. If they give you feedback, positive or negative, be sure to ask probing questions. You didn't like the topic. Why didn't you like the topic? Were there things I could have done to improve? Where exactly? Force them to be specific because the true mark of a lazy critic is they won't spend much time with you and getting your essay to where it needs to be. That is what I've seen. Also, when you're working with a counselor or editor, the more that they can team or partner with what the feedback you're getting from your school counselor is saying, and from the people that are important. I had a student a couple years ago, went to Castilleja. I don't know if you're familiar with the school in Palo Alto, all girls school, mom and dad, PhDs in biology, research scientists in Silicon Valley, geniuses. And I really do love the school. I would sit in every meeting with the mom and the daughter. We produced kick butt essays, and it was great. And the Castilleja counselor would come and give feedback. I think it truly is the fault of the counselor or editor if they get defensive, if they can't stand by their work. So that's my coaching. So I understand the sentiment. The bigger problem I find is not that a good editor will work around this, is the student wants to write the achievement essay. So for instance, I gave the example of the Shark Tank kid. He wanted to write about science fairs. He's like, John, I'm so good at these science fairs. And I'm like, yeah, but I really don't want to hear about that, buddy. Like, nobody wants to hear about that. Good for you, hotshot. Where did you struggle in high school? And he talked about how he was a horrible artist. And the hardest class he ever took was ninth grade art class. The teacher would just be like, here's a C, buddy, and go sit in your seat and try to bring something back. He's like, I don't know what to do. Like, oh, I'm scratching my head. It was the most genius essay I'd ever seen. And yeah, he gets all of his, does really well. So I think, to the parents out there, really get to know your counselor well, really get to think about how they can be your partner and your advocate in those conversations. Because sometimes I really believe, and I'm not a parent, parents are very overall well-intentioned. They want to get their kids to the finish line. So I really think sometimes it's the counselor's role to help get everybody on board. We're going to get this bus moving, and then also be able to deal with the tough feedback. I think that's another thing. I think counselors sometimes and editors get a little too defensive when it comes to saying that their writing isn't the best. But hey, that's my perspective.
No, I hear you. You're right.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, Mr. Gao, and can you just briefly talk about, were you very involved with your students' essays, college essays? Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Frankly speaking, not so much, because I'm a PhD in biology. I'm a scientist work here. However, I acquired my PhD degree in China, Milan. So, frankly speaking, either my route writing English and oral English is much worse than my daughter. So, in this phase, I also trusted her very much. She was leading the essay writing, and because our counselor is a good writing English writing instructor too. So when I read the essay, it was very reduced. So as the counselor said, a lot of Chinese application in Milan. I just had chance to help revise my classmates' daughter's application essay. I revised a lot, but I could not rewrite even one word in my daughter's application as no one word. I could not revise one word. Yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Gao is saying that he has a PhD in biology. He got his PhD in China, and he said his writing is not as good as students, so he did not revise anything. Okay, so I think we're fine. I mean, if parents want to revise, no problem. But I think you can see all counselors are the best replicates of admission officers. Okay, so people are going to ask me like, why don't you hire admission officers into your team? And I tell them, most admission officers sitting in Ivy League buildings are essay readings, and they worry about enrollment. Enrollment is, not worried. They have to look at a budget, okay, admission officer, and they have to look at the balance. They can't just say, hey, I get all students. Like I went to Cornell, so I do interview for Cornell, and we can't get all students from New York or neither from California, right? There's a balance. There's a lot of things to admission officers' job. But one thing I want to tell you, majority admission officers do not have experience one-on-one working with teenagers.
That's right. That's right.
The
And
honest, yeah, go ahead.
and some of us, I think, John, I'm not sure about your background, John, but I know some of us, I have been an admissions reader, and so yeah, I've been on the other side of the desk as well. But you're right. The admissions officers the AOs, they have a certain expertise that I don't have. But I have spent time on their side. I've read those. I've been one of the ones who've said yes or no to the kids getting in to a very highly selective college, and read all those as they do. But you're right; they have a different expertise. Many of us counselors have done a bit of that, so we know what it looks like on the other side. We know what they're looking at. We know what they're looking for. So, you can get the counselors some of the counselors you have at Haddee are going to have both sides.
Yeah,
But you're
yes.
right.
Yeah,
The AOs have they're looking at numbers, at budgets, at all sorts of things, institutional priorities that we're not looking at. You're right. You're right.
yeah, that's right. So, Mr. Gardezi, you want to
Yeah,
add?
one thing I'd also add is when you're selecting a counselor or editor, try to
Yeah.
pick somebody that your student and you will feel comfortable with. Because the thing is, you could have like a PhD in English
Right.
working with your student, and then there are some firms that only hire PhDs. So thank you, Hattie, for not just hiring PhDs. PhDs are very smart people. I've got some PhDs in my family. PhDs have a very useful role in society. Sometimes they don't work out for college admissions counselors and editors. So this is something to consider.
Yeah. So the key, so our counselors experience not only helping you discover the passions and cultivate all the basic fundamental skills, and with a lot of emotional support as well, because we have to look at a person, a student, adult, a human being is a holistic, it's a whole person. So your academic is connected with your well-being. If you don't sleep much, it's very hard for academic, okay? If you're so high level anxiety, it's very hard for academic. If you don't do much, your grades are really good, you need a balance. So it's a holistic approach, that a holistic coming from whole one person. So every time people are going to ask me, oh, your counselors are good at STEM, good at this, good at that, they are all, you can see, all good at working with teenagers. I tell you, not all of us like to work with teenagers, especially from the high-tech background. We work with adults, right? Project management, analytical, and working with teenagers is not easy. And you can see parenting is not easy because the teenager brain is evolving, okay? So next time I'm going to invite a guest. I already invited him before, Dr. Ambar, about a couple years ago. His specialty is working with teenagers. He will explain teenagers are so special, okay, very, very special. So I want to just like hats off to our counselors, and I really appreciate you love working with teenagers, okay? So thank you all. So I think the essay, we already talked about it. We're a little bit running out of time. We're trying to finish. I would like to ask one piece of advice from each of you is, say one sentence, one advice you, for counselors, you will give to parents, and for parent, Mr. Gao will give to counselors. And to that piece of advice is work together to help our students. Okay, Miss Marino.
I want to emphasize that the teenage years are really some of the best years of a student's life, and that the college application process should not overshadow that. And that while we're working together on a serious decision, they should still really be enjoying their lives and living them fully.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Miss Marino. And Mr. Clinton?
Well, I don't want to put a damper on things, Gigi, but yeah, they are, but sometimes they're not the best years of their lives. I guess I want to say, just approach this intersection, this very important crossroads, with care and with understanding and with patience. it's not going to be, it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do to get through this college selection, process, but it could be one of the most exciting and yeah, one of the most a time of self-discovery, I guess. I do hope it's fun, but it isn't always fun. But let's get through it. There's some really great things at the other side. It's like climbing a mountain. Get up there. Let me tell you, the view at the top is incredible, but you got to put in the work to get up to the top of the mountain to the summit. And once you get there, you won't believe it's how many options, how many the possibilities that lie ahead. Just keep that in mind as you're moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Very good. It's all about having more choices. Thank you. And Mr. Gardezi.
Yeah, so before my piece of advice, I would say, as somebody who's been doing this for many years, I want to acknowledge parents who perhaps, this is your first generation coming into the university system in the US. Maybe your education was from somewhere else. You've made incredible sacrifices, had tremendous obstacles that you've had to overcome. With all that in mind, know that your kids will someday acknowledge all of that. It might not be tomorrow, but to help them in the process, I encourage you to keep an open mind and be curious to learn more about the ins and outs of the process. And that'll help you be at peace. And you'll see that the more that you learn working with an effective counselor who knows his or her stuff, you'll know that that person will have your child's best interests at heart as you do. And that as a team, you can really get to the finish line strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here. Yes.
Mr. Gao, so from the parent point of view, what is the one sentence advice that you can give to our counselors for effective collaboration?
Yeah, actually, my understanding is kids can be much different with kids. But in our case, my children, my daughter is very motivated and ambitious and self-driving. So in my case, I would say let her take the lead, but stay in the car, as the counselor does say, stay in the car, don't jump out from the car, okay? And the parents do not have to drive, but do not disappear from your kid. Always keep close eye on your kids. Be
Okay.
support, not the driver.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
great. So yeah, Ms. Gao is emphasizing the students. Ms. Gao students very, very successful, take a lot of initiatives. Ms. Gao still want to keep involved, keep supporting, but still more a student-led process. Thank you, Mr. Gao. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, we're running a little bit of time. We're going to open the floor maybe for a few questions. I did not see any questions coming in from the chat. And any parents have any questions? Now it's your time to ask questions. You can type, you can speak up, or you can speak manually. I can translate as well, whatever, or any language I can translate. So. Okay,
I have a question, yes. Mr. Gao did an exceptional job explaining how the daughter was or did, but I want to learn how your counselor was able to help her to be to where she is now.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, Ms. Gao, you want to explain a little bit? If you want to speak manually, I can translate or whatever is effective.
Yeah. Actually, I think before we select Haddee as our counselor, actually we interviewed several other organizations as other counselors. So I noticed that there are some differences between different organizers, this kind of organizers. After we talked with Dada, we thought she could understand we as a Chinese parents, we not only we are parents, but we also Chinese parents. We got education in China, and we have some kids left. So a lot of organizations said they will help us to find the best fit college for my daughter. but the best fit is really not so very clear. So, but after we talk with that we know she understood us. The best fit is a side. It is one side. Another side, we want to be in most common Chinese opinion, the colleges to be among the best. I mean, best fit can be different. For example, this year my supervisor daughter is applying a college. A lot of their counselors asked her daughter to go to SDSU. A lot of parents said SDSU are good college, but I believe for most of our Chinese parents don't think it is. That's the difference.
Okay. So, Anna, basically, Mr. Gao said they interview quite a other organizations before they select us. And because I share this common background, with them, so a little bit easier to communicate. And also our counselor push our students to reach the very high goal. And we don't set the limit for number of colleges, but with at least 1/3 or half of the colleges are very, very competitive. And if we get into a couple of good competitive colleges, parents are happy, students are happy. Okay, that's what Mr. Gao's message. I think I kind of interpreted. Thank you, Mr. Gao. Any other, so we're gonna come up other questions. I'm gonna let probably Wes, when is the best time to start counseling? Miss Marino, you have students variety. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's interesting that you asked that question, because I was thinking with Anna's question about what the counselor can do for the student. If a student comes into the process as a senior, we are really limited on what we could do. What we can do is help build the college list, and we can suggest some activities for them that they can be involved in right away. And of course, we can help with the essay writing, which is very important. But in terms of helping them build that strong foundation that I was talking about initially, with a nice balance of extracurricular activities, volunteer activities, and taking challenging, interesting courses, because the number one thing that colleges look at is your academic record, and not just the grades that you have, but the diversity of classes that you've taken, and how challenging those courses were. Are you taking AP classes, or are you taking easy classes? So my ideal time for a student to come into the process is as a sophomore, because then we have the time to help them figure out what kind of activities they want to be involved in. Oftentimes students think that they need to pair their activities with their subject matter, which I don't know where they get that idea, but yes, it might be helpful if you want to major in biology, become a doctor someday, to work in a hospital. But if you want to be a computer science major and ultimately go on to work in academia, you don't have to do a tutoring position helping younger students with math or computer science. Actually, the more broad and diverse you can be as an individual will help your academic profile overall, because colleges want to see students that are interested in other things and that they have a lot of activities, right? So if you come into the process as a sophomore, you can really build a strong foundation.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, we don't take kids younger than this, second half of 8th grade. Okay, second half of 8th grade, that's the earliest we take, because kids gonna select their high school choice. So I'm answering one of the questions parents sent to me. Do you help with course selection during the high school? Yes, we do. And so that's why we set the earliest age is second half of 8th grader. We have students coming in as early as that, and then going to the freshman, the sophomore, the junior. Honestly, some of the kids coming in senior year. And my son was a very, very good typical example. I wrote about it. He didn't want it, and his friend was using our counselor. He couldn't handle it. At the end, he got help, got into great schools, and now, this counselor is helping with him for PhD. People think like, what do you need for PhD? The counselor doesn't know mathematics, okay? However, she is giving my son a lot of life advice. When my son's facing adversity, facing choices, my son has a counselor to talk to with confidentiality, and a counselor that knows about life choice. Go ahead, Ms. Clinton.
Can I just, I wanted to add an anecdote to my story. About I had a student who came in as a sophomore, and he was gung-ho on athletics. He was a football player, a wrestler. He didn't necessarily think that he was going to try for an athletic scholarship, but his interest lay in that area of sports management, etc. But because he came in as a sophomore, we got to know each other really well. And he had the opportunity to do a program at Boston University in sports management. It bored him to tears. So when you start the process early, you have the freedom to explore different things that will end up shaping your experience. And we talked an awful lot about politics, and he was very interested in history. And now he's had some injuries that have sort of made him ineligible for athletics at this point. He's had a couple serious concussions, so he can no longer do football, can no longer do wrestling. But he's gotten very interested in debate and DECA and has done super well. And now he has a long-term goal of someday working as becoming a politician or working in government. And we're thinking now that he's going to major in economics with maybe a minor in political science or history or international relations. Very, very different from when he started. But because he began as a sophomore, we had a lot of time to explore different areas and to talk, and he had different experiences. So I really believe that that period of time, that exploration and discovery is so important to the process. And especially with boys, they develop more slowly than girls do. And so there's a lot of maturation that happens between the time that they start the process and the time that they actually apply to college. And we're there for them. We provide not just advice on which classes you take or which college you want to go to, but we're there to provide emotional support for them. And that's an important part of the process for me.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Marino. So I want to add one thing to Anna's question about how we support, which we really have not talked about it, is we do provide internship. So Ms. Gao's student is also pursuing Ross Business School at University of Michigan with a merit-based scholarship. And Ms. Marino's student is getting to a top UPenn, top summer school. And both of the students were enrolled for business internship. We provide engineering internship, business internship. I personally wrote Ms. Gao's student a very nice letter of recommendation as employer, because the student developed an internship at Haddee. So this is one of also programs or activities we provide as a Haddee student. Okay, we work together with counselor. Okay, so then the question there is, maybe I ask Mr. Clinton, do you help students choose the subject of their application essay?
Yes, I do, and I don't choose it for them, but I lead them through a series of sort of brainstorming, but much more than brainstorming, introspection, values and interests and things. And it takes about 2 sessions. And when we get through that, I've never had a student who's wondering what they could write about. We usually are able to come up with 6, 7, 8 topics that could be really great essays, and they're used in a variety of ways. Well, one of them usually becomes one of the personal statement, and then often others will become parts of the supplementals. But yeah, it's not an easy process, but I do not choose it for them. I help them to find these kids have stories. They've got stories galore. They just don't even realize it. but we pull it out of them.
Okay. So the next question I will answer, how many students our counselor generally have. We cap at 15 for senior year. And usually senior year is the maximum. Of course, the junior and sophomore students definitely less because some students don't want to be enrolled. And until the junior year, you know, some are like, oh, I couldn't do it. You know, mom, dad, I need help. A lot of students don't want to be helped. We recognize that. That's why we have a process, have students fill out the intake form. If students are willing to, then we'll meet. Otherwise, we won't even meet the student, okay? So then the next question is private question, but I want to maybe talk to Mr. Gardezia, answer that questions. Parents say they want a regular meeting with counselors. And, you know, are we with us? Yeah, it's fine. But how regular we are, we craft maybe every quarter, every 6 months. As Ms. Marino said, our students are student counselor. And I don't want to end up just answering all the questions for the parents. However, counselor and his parents can have private time together, but I'll let Ms. Gardezia answer that question.
Yeah, that's great. I always welcome counselor parent, one-on-one meetings. Typically, I encourage parents to have those meetings when they want to. I've also found what's more effective is that if the parent is sitting in the student meeting with the counselor from time to time and making their presence known and asking questions, that can be perhaps even more effective. Typically, those one-on-ones with the counselor parent, it's usually something that's very serious. The student is going through something. There's some sensitivities. That's all great. But I'd encourage parents to actually come into the student meetings, if possible, from time to time, just 5 minutes. Hey, wanted to check in. And of course, you have to negotiate that with your student. So think about what might be the best possible approach. But, those are okay. But usually try to see if you can air your concerns or questions in a session. And even better, if you can get your student to air those concerns and questions so that they feel like they're driving everything.
But also one thing I have experienced a couple times. I think I'm having a one-on-one with a student, and I realize that mom's sitting behind the scenes listening to everything, and I don't want that to happen. When that has happened, I've had to call it. But I don't know about you, John. I think you're saying from time to time, on an occasional basis, negotiate with your student. But we need to be very upfront that our main focus is a one-to-one with the student.
Yeah, and I think what's even better from a counselor's perspective is just to assume that the parent is listening in on every conversation.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I've actually, I know we don't do this at Haddee, but I've actually worked at companies where they record every session.
Oh,
They do this. So, and I know we don't go there, but
Yeah.
here's what I think. Look, if a parent wants to listen in, they're going to do that. I mean, if that's what you really want to do, but I would say maybe, we obviously are professionals. We will always give the best advice to your student. And if you want to make your presence known in a session, feel free. I would encourage the student to try to drive as much of the conversation as possible, and then things could be handled offline. If it's going to disturb the peace of a meeting, I say take it offline. Otherwise, let the student, continue to drive the conversation as needed, because they're ultimately the ones doing a lot of the heavy lifting and the work, right? So we want them to feel comfortable.
So, okay, so very good. Yeah. So one thing I want to, people are asking the next questions, what do you set your counseling service apart from other counseling services that make your service outstanding? I tell you, we work with the best counselors. Our counselors do care. They care a lot, and they're very capable, okay? However, each counselor's style is different. And I'm not going to go and tell Miss Marino and Mr. Gardezia, you have exactly the same style. And honestly, some of the counselors have a link, the kid's book. Some of the counselors are reach the kid and work with them a schedule a few days before the meeting. I do not want to set how they do it, okay? I look at them, they do care, they write very nice report, and the results are good. That's what I do care. So, Mr. Gao, I want to ask you, your student is very successful. Of course, your student is successful, okay? It's a good student, but I think we also help with your support
Yeah,
and our counseling support, right? That's,
yeah.
so I want to ask you, did
Yeah.
you sit in each meetings and with the student? And also, how often did you request to meet with the counselor privately? Then please share. Mhm.
Yeah, actually, I think we are very lucky for my daughter because I do know other instructor counselors in your in Haddee, but I know the counselor for my daughter very well. So she is really great counselor. You know, what she did not only to construct a very strong college application profile for my daughter. She also, such as my daughter had some random questions, such as selection of classes, and if even some psychiatry very private questions. My daughter uh, didn't want to share with me, but I know she talked much more with her counselor. So the counselor helped her. The San Diego people, a lot of American people know CC her high quality is very competitive. Every kid has a lot of pressure in classes. In this way, sometimes what I could do just pray or say some words she cannot very supportive for her. But in this kind of thing, if I found several times after she talked with her cousin, I feel I felt that she became a lot of better and become peaceful because the kids sometimes have can lost how and suspect how good they are at that time because sometimes, for example, when she got a B score B, she was so disappointed. But after talked with her counselor, the counselor comforted her very quickly and let her understand B, even if she has B's, that's not the worst end. She still has a lot of opportunities to step in the high level colleges. And another thing I want to share, today actually from the contract with Haddee, we have finished because Haddee helped finish the college application for my daughter. Our business has already ended, but today the reason why I came here, I just want to see show my appreciation and thanks for the counselor at that because they were really helpful. I just talk a very small story. Uh, even my daughter was in the college maybe 2 months ago, around 2 months ago, when her counselor visited the campus, my daughter's college, she gathered all her students together and had dinner together, make them recognize each other. And even now, if my daughter has some problem or bad news or good news, we still share with her counselor. So we still got support from the customer because they don't want to be share her name. So
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gao. So what Mr. Gao is saying, just very quick summarize, sometimes student, it's very competitive. Some students are coming from Canyon Crest Academy. That's my boys' school's very, very competitive. Kids get B's. My boy has a lot of B's, okay? And so when Mr. Gao's student talked to the counselor comforted her, and she's wasn't as upset as she would be, become more peaceful. When you become more peaceful, you become more productive. And the counselor still encourage her that even you have Bs, you still have a lot of choices for good colleges. So that's good. And then Mr. Gao is also saying that the client relationship is ended when the student goes to college. But 2 months ago, counselor and her daughter still got together, and the daughter actually got into a lot of investment banking opportunities because of school, University of Michigan, which I went to school there as well. A lot of great opportunities. And the student kept the counselor updated about her experience in New York City. And as a freshman, it's unbelievable. She got a lot of opportunity. Ross admission is about 7%. So it's lower than Cornell. Cornell, I think, is 10, 11%. It's very difficult to get in. It's a lot of opportunities. Yeah. And then if she has questions, she's still texting call the counselor, and the counselor will help. And even though the really business relationship, it's over. That's how the counselor is helping my son, because my son's in college, but he's still texting counselor questions. And then my son was going to apply for PhD. So I'm like, okay, why don't you be my son's counselor for the rest of the PhD application, even though the kid is sitting in college already? So that's where I hope with the anecdotes to answer parent questions, Hattie's questions, what to set our service different, because we do care. That's the most important. We do care, and our counselors are very experienced. Okay, so that's the answer to the question. And then I'm sorry, yeah. How do you make educated decisions whether to pick? Okay, I mean, that's something maybe Ling, you can ask me, you can add me. So I'm gonna put my WeChat there. If you want to ask between Torrey Pines and CC, I'm not gonna answer the question with my and I'm going to this WeChat, okay, and then I will say WeChat, and I put the company phone there, which is, yeah, you can directly, our WhatsApp, whatever, right? And email. I will explain to you about the college. I'm sorry, this is the wrong email. Yeah, hello@haddee2es.com. And I'll explain to you between Torrey Pines and Canyon Crest, okay? Because it really depends. And then I'm sorry to keep you guys going. During essay writing, the advisors handling so many essays at once. How can they assure that each essay maintain its own unique and independence? Wow, this is a great question. Miss Marino, you want to take that question?
Yeah, take it.
Take it.
Go on.
No,
There,
she's on.
audio's back on. Okay. Having the student's voice shine through is very important to me. And so I think that my many years of working in the classroom and having read thousands of freshman essays has been very helpful for me. And again, a great preparation for what I do now. But I never skim over a piece of writing. And I think that that's important for the work that we do. I also work professionally as an editor, so I also have that background. But I have to be very careful when I'm editing a piece of writing, because I'm not editing a piece of writing for MIT's magazine. I'm editing a piece of writing that is representing the student. And for me, the most important quality in a student essay is authenticity. And I really want the student's voice to be heard. There are so many examples of essays out there on the internet. This is the essay that got somebody into UPenn, whatever. But if you look at them, they all follow a certain kind of tone and structure, and they begin with a bang. And so all students think that they need to have this amazing first line that's going to draw people in right away. But the purpose of the college essay is for the admissions office to determine whether or not this student is going to be a good
我
citizen
最近很长胖了。
of that university. And being authentic and honest in your approach is more important than being able to handle an extended metaphor. That using extended metaphors is a literary trope that a lot of people feel that they must do in a piece of writing. It's just not true. You have to tell a good story, and it has to come from the heart, and you have to have learned something in the process of writing that story. I had a young woman had written an essay that did not have one of those fabulous first lines that just grabbed you and brought you in, but it was a story about how she had been bullied as a child to the point where she stopped talking for years until she went to a new school, and the people at the new school embraced her, and she found her voice again. And it was so beautifully written. I cried at the end of it. If you cry at the end of an essay, so is the person who's reading the essay. And that's the important thing. So when you're saying you're reading so many different essays at once, and yes, we are, it just really comes down to the experience that you've had and the care and concern with which you approach this task. And for me, the essay writing is a sacred task.
Thank you, Ms. Marino. Okay, then. Okay, thank you, Ms. Marino. The next question I'll give to Ms. Clinton. I will translate it. It was sent to me directly in Chinese. How can counselor help students build their social skills? Do you have any ideas? Social, how can you help? Yeah.
Well, I mean, just the mere process of entering into counseling with someone like that is the very first step. I'm assuming that the person, because they're translating, they might be coming from either from Asia or from, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, some kids need just to be able to start talking. Some kids, as Gigi was saying, they need to find their voice, literally, to be able to start the process. Also, I think to answer that question fully, I'd need to know the person themselves. But again, it starts with this kind of counseling. We've been throwing that term counseling around a lot today, and it almost needs to be unpacked for many people, because I found that many people that I serve don't necessarily know what counseling is because they've never really done it or been in it. But yeah, it starts with that one-on-one.
Yeah, I'd like
Sorry,
to
I didn't hear you.
something
Yeah.
to that. So in terms of, I've worked with a lot of students who've had challenges socially, maybe were shy at one point. And oftentimes in the essay writing process, we usually find, or brainstorming, there's like a watershed experience. I went to a camp. I joined
Yes.
a team. I tried a new hobby and I fell in love with it. So I think the more that a student can be open to new experiences, and the more that parents can encourage, thoughtful exploration and trial and error, then usually a student can come out of his or her shell into the person they're truly meant to be.
Right.
Very good, very good. Okay. Then I will answer those questions. How often the kid meet the counselor? We have a general guideline. It's really not about the number of the meetings, but general guidelines before the end of 11th grade. Before the application starts, on average is once a month. However, if you are students applying for summer programs, maybe meet 2 or 3 times during the spring, maybe within a month or two. But when our counselors are busy with UC applications or EA, maybe skip a month. We do not monitor exactly number of months. We trust the counselor will get the work done. Okay, and some kids no point of meeting because our counselor will assign work, and the student says, okay, I didn't do it. So what's the point of we sitting together? Because student did not submit, didn't do anything, no point to talk about it, and the student need to complete independently. That's something I want to be very, very clear. Some parents want us to hold students' pen during Zoom. write sentence by sentence. And I tell you, this is not going to work. I use a very bad analogy, but I have to say it. When you write something, it's very private. You spit out your thoughts. It's very difficult for somebody to help you hold your hands right. It's not possible. I was an English major, so my bad analogy is like, you know, taking my privacy away. Like I'm taking a shower and somebody's like, you know, guide me how to take a shower. I'm sorry, it's a bad analogy, okay? Yeah, it's a bad analogy. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. I can't. Impossible. Doesn't matter how your student does not write or not. The student has to sit down independently, pull the thoughts out. Maybe everything is not good. Our counselor will help structure it, but that initial pulling the thoughts has to be done independently. It's not mom and dad, not counseling. Okay, so this is what I want to kind of emphasize. So the cadence during the application season, some of our counselors talking to the kids on a daily basis, some, you know, maybe every few days, but we get the work done and our results are pretty good. And okay, so merit-based scholarship, yes, we do help students. Mr. Gao students got merit-based, but a lot of merit-based scholarships coming with the school. So the school, like University of Michigan, if you get in, they will send you and say, hey, we want to apply for honor. And then it will be a separate application. Yes, we do help, but we are not going to go out to the Coca-Cola merit-based scholarship because there's no chance of doing it. So those merit-based scholarship outside, you know, some kind of like lot of scams. Say, hey, if you want to apply for Coca-Cola, if you want to apply, if you read those, there are a lot of conditions. Some are for African Americans, some for Asian Americans in Oakland, some for, you know, in San Diego, you know, Miss Gao students got a scholarship in San Diego. That's alumni from Michigan. So there's a lot of, if you read through, yes, it's, I mean, if the one fits you, yes, but many of them out there, it's not possible. But school merit-based scholarship is the major thing. Okay, so I'm going to answer. And then potential career suggestions. Okay, so Mr. Gardezia, you want to take that one? Counselor, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to add something about tracking hours. So long before I was a counselor, my first job in high school was working as a tutor. I was making a lot less money back then, but I thought it was a lot. When you're tutoring a student versus counseling a student, it's two different things that you're doing. When you have a problem at APUSH, you have to sit down, or your AP Calc, digest all the information, and then be able to apply it in an exam setting or a free response question for an AP or what have you. When you're doing counseling, it's very different because you're approaching higher level thought and levels of self-awareness that unfortunately sometimes students aren't able to access in a classroom setting in school. And so I encourage parents to think about not the total number of hours. Like if I got 3 hours of tutoring a week in AP Calc BC and I got only an hour of college counseling, or maybe it varies, just think about more kind of where the needle is. And if you don't mind me, Dan, can you repeat that question again?
Oh, you mean the next question?
Yeah, the next question.
Yeah, next question is about career advice.
Oh, yeah.
Potential career. Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of giving, you know, career advice and helping students, the way the college admissions system and professional development is set up is that in some instances, what you study in college will impact what you do in terms of your career, and in other instances, it won't. Sometimes you could be an English major and do something completely different, like work in tech. So working with the counselor, there are a wide array of options, from personality tests to internships to shadowing experiences that students can take on, to research. And we have access to these opportunities. And that's where working with a counselor through a lot of, you know, supported inquiry, a student can land in a place where they have a sense of maybe what they would want to explore after college.
Thank you. I'm going to just, okay. Meetings, yeah. So each counselor is different. Sorry, I mean, unless you're in application seasons, there's not going to be meeting every week. I'm going to be really straightforward. Unless you are applying, And however, if you have questions, text, email, no problem. We are not going to get the student talking about colleges every single week. I want to make sure if you want a meeting every week, probably that's not the right company for you. Before the end of the application season, like, you know, the 9th grade, 8th grader, or but, you know, after you finish junior year, yeah, some students even talking to our counselor on a daily basis because there's a lot of Google Doc sharing. I finish it. Can you take a look at it? Counselor said yes and give a feedback. Sometimes students don't understand the feedback. Okay, Miss Marino, can I book a meeting? Mr. Gardezia, no problem. Okay, so it is really organic to get the things done. Okay, get the things done. We don't count exactly the meeting, but there's a general framework. Okay, so and then I'm going to ask you, there are a lot of many, you know, counseling companies. Whatever, you know, they're out there. I'm not going to do competitive analysis here. Go look at the reviews. We don't have Yelp, but look at Google reviews. Talk to other parents. But, you know, one thing, it's if it works out, fine. If it doesn't work out, we have refund policy pretty much before the second half of junior year. So if you come in early, it doesn't really work out, fine. And we have refund policy, okay? So there's not much risk to the parents, but you can say, oh, you know, we waste our time. But you can see we have a variety of counselors, okay? If a student does not work out with Miss Marino, which all of the students will work out with you guys, and we're gonna switch. Maybe Mr. Gardez is the right one. But we are very, very good in matching. So some parents gonna ask, like, how do you match? Of course we match, okay? We look at your interest, we look at where you stay, we look at whether you're an ESL student. Some of the counselor, like Mr. Clinton, has more ESL students background because Mr. Clinton worked in Shanghai in China for quite a few years. And so we match them. So some, you know, I mean, I think all of you have students going to MIT, but you know, so I'm not going to go on and on. So we do match, and you just have to trust us, okay? And it's going to be a free consultation. We also support graduate school applications, and that consultation is not free because most undergraduate students will come and get information and they want to do their own. So we do charge for undergraduate students, for if you want to apply for graduate students, okay? But that's a different, most kids are undergraduate, applying for college here. So I think I'm going to end here. Otherwise, we're going to have here all night. I'm very grateful for all of you, the counselors, Mr. Gao, and all the parents staying together for, you know, close to 2 hours, an hour and a half. Thank you so much. We'll get the YouTube video and upload it on our channel. You can follow us on Haddee Education. We have all the information. So thank you so much and really appreciate all of your time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
Bye.
that's it.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gao. Thank you, Mr.
Bye.
Ms.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank all the parents. Okay,
Have
talk
a
to you
great
soon.
weekend.
Yeah, okay, you too. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.